Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today we're diving into the dramatic finale of one of literature's most beloved romances. Just as things are settling down with Jane and Bingley's engagement, a carriage thunders up to Longbourn House, and who steps out? None other than the formidable Lady Catherine de Bourgh. She marches in, dismisses Mrs. Bennet and Kitty, and demands a private walk with Elizabeth in the garden. Once they're alone, Lady Catherine doesn't mince words. She's heard a rumour, an alarming, shameful rumour, that Elizabeth is set to marry her nephew, Mr. Darcy. She declares it a lie and demands Elizabeth deny it. Elizabeth, however, refuses to be bullied. She coolly asks why her ladyship bothered coming if she believed it was impossible. Lady Catherine is furious, insisting Darcy is promised to her own daughter. They were destined for each other, a perfect match of family and fortune. She warns Elizabeth that if she dares to marry Darcy, she'll be cast out, a complete social pariah, never to be acknowledged by his family. But Elizabeth stands her ground. She tells Lady Catherine that the wife of Mr. Darcy would surely be too happy to care about such threats. When pressed, Elizabeth admits she is not currently engaged to him, but she absolutely refuses to promise she never will be. She tells Lady Catherine that she is determined to do what will bring her happiness, without any regard for her ladyship's opinion. The confrontation ends with a furious Lady Catherine storming off, leaving Elizabeth shaken but resolute. This visit, however, has an unintended effect. Elizabeth worries that Lady Catherine will now go straight to Darcy and convince him of her unsuitability. The next morning, her father calls her into his library, holding a letter from Mr. Collins. He mockingly congratulates Elizabeth on her conquest of Mr. Darcy, finding the idea utterly absurd. Elizabeth has to force a laugh, but inside her heart sinks, fearing her father might be right about Darcy's indifference. Just when all hope seems lost, Darcy returns. He and Bingley come to visit, and during a walk, Elizabeth finds herself alone with him, gathering all her courage. She thanks him for his incredible kindness to her sister Lydia. Darcy admits that his primary motivation was to bring happiness to her Elizabeth. He then lays his heart on the line, telling her his affections and wishes are unchanged since his disastrous proposal months ago. But, he says, one word from her will silence him forever. Finally, Elizabeth confesses that her own feelings have undergone a radical change. She is now ready and grateful to accept his proposal. The joy that floods Darcy's face is immense. They talk for hours, clearing up every misunderstanding. Darcy reveals that his aunt's visit actually had the opposite effect she intended. Her description of Elizabeth's defiance gave him hope, proving she hadn't rejected him outright. He confesses he was raised to be proud and selfish, and it was Elizabeth who taught him humility. She, in turn, admits that his letter explaining his past actions completely removed all her prejudice against him. Of course, getting the family's approval is another story. Jane is shocked at first, unable to believe her sister could love a man she once despised. Mr. Bennet is equally skeptical, but Elizabeth convinces them both of her true happiness. The only person who needs no convincing is Mrs. Bennet, who, after a moment of speechless shock, erupts in joy over how rich and grand her daughter will be. And so they marry, creating their own happiness at Pemberley. Jane and Bingley move to a home nearby, allowing the sisters to remain close. Even Lady Catherine eventually comes around thanks to Elizabeth's persuasion. It was a long and difficult road, filled with pride and prejudice. But in the end, love found its way, bringing together one of the most iconic couples in literary history. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.